The golden sun of Alexandria spills across the harbor, glinting off the marble towers of the royal palace. Inside, a young woman walks through columns of white stone and azure silk, Cleopatra, last daughter of the Ptolemies. Her eyes, deep and alert, reflect both beauty and calculation. As she gazes upon the Nile, a prophecy echoes in her mind, that she will be both Egypt's savior and its downfall. The air hums with destiny. Born to King Ptolemy X, Cleopatra grew among scholars and philosophers who whispered in Greek, Egyptian, and Latin. Unlike her siblings, she mastered every tongue, learning not just words, but persuasion. At night, she listened to the river's murmur as though it carried secrets of ancient gods. The child who would one day rule spoke to priests and sailors alike, earning their trust and curiosity. Palace corridors whisper of betrayal. Courtiers plot while musicians played to drown the venom of politics. Cleopatra, now a teenager, watches her father's paranoia grow as Rome's influence spreads over Egypt. She understands power comes not from strength alone, but from knowledge and timing. Her brother, Ptolemy XIII, eyes the throne already. When her father flees to Rome amid rebellion, Cleopatra faces exile and hunger. She rides through the desert with only loyal guards and a fierce resolve. Sandstorms rise, but her spirit burns brighter than the sun. She swears to return to Alexandria not as a princess, but as Pharaoh. Years later, Cleopatra returns, as Rome installs her father back on the throne. She stands beside him during ceremonies, but knows the strings are pulled by Caesar's envoys. Yet even the Romans sense her presence. Her intellect and charisma cut through the marble formality like a blade. Upon her father's death, Cleopatra and her brother Ptolemy XIII ascend as co-rulers, but harmony shatters quickly. Courtiers favor her brother, whispering that a woman cannot rule Egypt. Cleopatra counters with alliances, bribes, and the power of her voice. She meets generals and priests by moonlight, forging loyalty in the shadows. The Nile becomes a mirror of war. Cleopatra's banners rise in the delta as her brother's armies march south. Betrayals erupt. Blood is spilled beneath the palms. Yet Cleopatra remains unbroken, commanding from a barge gilded with lion emblems. She watches flames engulf the horizon and whispers to Isis for strength. When Julius Caesar arrives in Alexandria to mediate, Cleopatra takes the boldest gamble of her life. She has herself smuggled into his chambers rolled in a Persian carpet. As the rug unrolls, the conqueror beholds the queen, radiant, fearless, and smiling like destiny itself. A new chapter of empire begins. Caesar is captivated. Together, they dine beneath silver lanterns, their conversation flowing from philosophy to empire. Cleopatra's charm becomes a weapon sharper than steel. She secures her throne, wins back her crown, and bears Caesar a son, Caesarion. Alexandria rejoices, but Rome whispers of scandal. Cleopatra stands on her royal barge beside Caesar, the Nile gilded by sunrise. Below, the people cheer. Egypt is free, at least for now. In her arms, she holds her infant son, a living symbol of unity between two worlds. Yet behind her smile lies the knowledge that every empire demands a price. The city explodes with joy as Cleopatra sails down the Nile beside Caesar, her barge draped in purple silk.
Musicians play flutes while petals rain from balconies. She has reclaimed her crown through intellect and daring. Yet amid the celebration, she senses Rome's jealous eyes watching from afar. Caesar whispers promises of alliance, but Egypt's queen knows promises fade faster than perfume in the desert air. In the quiet halls of the Library of Alexandria, Cleopatra walks among scrolls of wisdom older than any empire. She dreams of a rebirth, a fusion of Egyptian soul and Greek reason. Her counselors question the cost, but she envisions a nation that will outshine even Rome. Candlelight flickers across her face as she vows to restore Egypt's greatness, whatever the sacrifice. At the annual festival honoring the god Happy, Cleopatra appears before her people dressed as Isis incarnate. The crowd kneels, chanting her name as divine music fills the air. She raises her arms to bless the waters, merging goddess and queen into one eternal symbol. For a moment, she feels truly immortal, as if the Nile itself flows through her veins. News arrives. Caesar is returning to Rome, and he demands Cleopatra follow. Her heart trembles. Is it love or calculation that draws her westward? She boards her ship, her son cradled beside her, gazing toward a future uncertain. The horizon blurs between empire and heartache. Rome stirs with gossip as Cleopatra enters like a goddess from the east. Senators whisper of her golden chariot, her silks, her perfume that clings to marble halls. Caesar builds her a villa across the Tiber, an act of devotion and defiance. She walks among statues of Roman gods and wonders how long even Caesar can hold back the storm of envy. The roar of the forum turns to chaos. Cleopatra hears the cry, "Caesar is dead!" Daggers have silenced the man who held the world in his grasp. She clutches Caesarion, her son, as panic floods her heart. The dream of union between Rome and Egypt shatters like broken glass. She flees the city that once adored her, carrying both grief and defiance. Back in Alexandria, Cleopatra reclaims her throne with solemn grace. The palace feels emptier, the corridors colder. Yet the queen cannot mourn forever. She orders temples restored, ships built, and trade renewed. Her people see her strength and whisper that Isis walks among them again. But in the quiet of night, she gazes at the stars and wonders if Caesar watches still. The Roman world fractures into chaos. Antony, Octavian, and Lepidus rise as triumvirs. Cleopatra studies their movements like a strategist of the gods. When Mark Antony summons her to Tarsus, she knows this meeting will shape destiny itself. She prepares not as a widow, but as a queen who commands empires through allure and intellect alike. Her barge glides up the Cydnus River like a dream made flesh. Perfumed sails billow as musicians play beneath silver oars. Mark Antony stands on shore, stunned by her magnificence. Cleopatra reclining as Aphrodite reborn, her eyes inviting both desire and surrender. From that moment, Antony's fate is sealed. Love and empire entwine. That night, Cleopatra hosts Antony in a feast of wonder. Tables of gold overflow with figs, pomegranates, and honeyed wine. Perfume fills the air as dancers move like living flame. She teases him with riddles and laughter until even the hardened general forgets Rome. Two souls,
born to rule and to ruin, begin their fatal dance beneath the glow of torches and stars. As dawn breaks over Tarsus, Antony and Cleopatra share a private audience. The scent of lotus and incense drifts through the tent as they discuss politics, cloaked in affection. Antony promises Egypt protection. Cleopatra offers wealth and loyalty, and something far more dangerous, enchantment. Their alliance is sealed with a kiss that will echo through centuries. Cleopatra sails home with Antony beside her, their ships adorned with crimson banners. Alexandria erupts in celebration, the city illuminated by torches reflecting off the Nile. The people see their queen not just as ruler, but as goddess and lover. From her balcony, Cleopatra smiles. She has tamed the lion of Rome. Within the palace, the union of Antony and Cleopatra deepens. Between laughter and strategy, they divide the world. Rome's east for Antony, Egypt for Cleopatra. They feast beneath frescoes of gods, while musicians weave melodies of passion and power. Yet, in the corners of the hall, servants whisper, "Such fire can only end in ashes." Cleopatra rides along the fertile banks of the Nile beside Antony, showing him the life of her people. Farmers bow as she passes, children scatter petals before her horses. She speaks of Egypt's soul, its gods, its rhythms, its eternal river. Antony listens, captivated not only by her words, but by the vision of a living goddess before him. Joy fills the royal palace as Cleopatra gives birth to twins, Alexander Helios and Cleopatra Selene. Antony holds them, his heart torn between love and duty. The queen whispers that their children will rule both Rome and Egypt one day. For a brief moment, it seems the world might truly be theirs. News of Antony's devotion to Cleopatra reaches Rome. Octavian's propaganda paints her as a sorceress who has bewitched a Roman general. The Senate trembles. Citizens cry for vengeance. Cleopatra reads the scrolls of accusation and laughs softly. "Let them fear me," she murmurs. "It is better to be feared than forgotten." Determined to show strength, Cleopatra hosts the donations of Alexandria, a spectacle of divine theater. Dressed as Isis, she crowns Antony as the god Dionysus before thousands. Their children are declared rulers of faraway lands. The crowd roars with adoration, but far to the west, Octavian's rage grows like a storm over the sea. As Rome prepares for war, Cleopatra and Antony retreat to their palace gardens. Among fountains and jasmine, they hold each other in silence. He dreams of triumph. She dreams of survival. The night hums with crickets and prophecy. The stars above seem to weep, knowing how their story must end. War drums echo across the Mediterranean. Antony's legions assemble at Actium, his ships gleaming beneath the blazing sun. Cleopatra's fleet sails beside his, Egyptian gold and Roman iron united. She watches the horizon, heart divided between love and empire. "If Rome must burn," she whispers, "let it burn for us." The sea turns crimson as Antony's fleet clashes with Octavian's. Arrows rain from the sky, ships blaze in smoke and fury. In the chaos, Cleopatra's flagship turns, retreating to protect Egypt's survival. Antony follows, abandoning the fight for love. The battle is lost, and with it, the fate of two empires.
The winds of Actium drive Cleopatra's ship across the dark waves, the screams of battle fading behind her. She stands upon the deck, robes torn, eyes hollow with disbelief. Antony's vessel follows like a wounded lion returning to its den. The queen watches the horizon and feels her empire slipping away with every mile of sea between her and Rome. Antony arrives in Alexandria, broken and humiliated. His armor tarnished, his spirit fading, he wanders the palace halls like a ghost. Cleopatra meets him with silence, not anger, not pity, but the quiet understanding of two doomed souls. "We have lost the world," she whispers, "but not each other." Weeks pass. The lovers hide from the storm in banquets and laughter, pretending the world has not turned against them. Musicians play, dancers whirl, and the wine flows like the Nile in flood. Yet beneath the laughter, despair seeps like poison. Every song feels like a farewell to joy. Messengers arrive with grim tidings. Octavian's legions march on Egypt. His fleet commands the sea. His armies cross the sands. Cleopatra gathers her council, eyes burning with resolve. "We will not beg for mercy," she declares. "We are Egypt, and Egypt kneels to no one." To rally the people, Cleopatra stages a final parade. She appears as Isis reborn, carried through Alexandria on a golden throne. The crowds cheer, believing the gods still favor their queen. But in her heart, Cleopatra knows this is the last illusion, a farewell to splendor before the night descends. As Octavian's forces near, Antony's mind crumbles under shame and defeat. Rumors reach him, whispers that Cleopatra plans to betray him to save herself. In madness and heartbreak, he rages through the palace, sword in hand, vowing to end both her and himself. Love has become a dagger forged by destiny. Believing Cleopatra dead, Antony falls upon his sword. Blood stains the marble floor as he gasps for breath, whispering her name. When servants bring word that she still lives, he orders them to carry him to her. As he is lifted, crimson trails behind, a hero undone not by war, but by love. In her hidden mausoleum, Cleopatra receives the dying Antony. She cradles him in her arms as tears fall upon his armor. "Do not weep, my queen," he murmurs. "Our names will live forever." With his final breath he smiles, and the great general's heart goes still. The wail that follows shakes the stone walls like thunder. Octavian's banners rise over the city. His legions march through the streets as Alexandrians watch in silence. The library burns, the harbor chokes with ashes. Cleopatra retreats into her mausoleum, surrounded by treasures meant to accompany her into eternity. Outside, Rome claims victory, but within, Egypt's last pharaoh prepares her final act. Octavian enters her chambers to demand surrender. Cleopatra greets him with poise, draped in gold, her eyes sharp as ever. She speaks softly, "Would you parade me through Rome in chains?" He hesitates, seeing in her the ghost of empires past. That night Cleopatra orders her servants to prepare a feast, not for life, but for eternity. The palace is quiet, the city subdued under Roman occupation. In her mausoleum, Cleopatra hosts one final banquet.
Golden plates glimmer beneath the torchlight. Perfumes of myrrh and lotus fill the air. Her servants, Iris and Charmian, exchange silent glances. They know this is no feast of celebration, but of farewell. The queen raises her cup to Egypt, eternal, even in defeat. As the night deepens, a small basket is brought into the chamber. Fruits atop linen, and hidden within, a coiled asp. Cleopatra gazes upon it with calm reverence. So this is how a goddess returns to the gods, she murmurs. The snake lifts its head, eyes glimmering like jewels. Outside, the torches of Roman guards flicker, unaware that history is about to turn to legend. Before dawn, Cleopatra stands before a polished bronze mirror. The reflection shows not a queen of flesh, but a goddess carved in gold and sorrow. She adorns herself in her royal crown and the sacred jewels of Isis, every motion slow and deliberate. "If I am to die," she whispers, "I shall die as Cleopatra, not as Rome's prisoner." She seats herself upon her throne and lifts the basket to her lap. With gentle grace, she guides the asp to her arm. Its fangs pierce her skin, a fleeting sting, then warmth spreading through her veins like desert fire. Iris gasps, Charmian trembles, yet Cleopatra only smiles faintly. "It is well," she breathes. "I go to join Antony." Moments later, Cleopatra's body relaxes. Her hand slips from the armrest, the asp resting beside her like a guardian. Iris and Charmian, loyal until the end, follow her into silence. The air is heavy with perfume, the scene illuminated by soft dawn light streaming through the lattice. Thus ends the line of pharaohs, with grace, with will, with legend. When Octavian enters the chamber, he finds Cleopatra dead, her beauty untouched by decay. For a moment, even the conqueror is silent. He orders her buried beside Antony, an act of reluctant respect. As he gazes upon her still form, he senses the weight of what he has destroyed, the last breath of ancient Egypt's soul. Cleopatra and Antony are laid to rest in a marble tomb overlooking the river that had been their kingdom's heart. Priests chant hymns to Isis and Osiris as incense curls toward the sky. The Nile flows silently, carrying their story to the sea. Two lovers, rulers of worlds, united at last beyond the reach of empire. Under Octavian's rule, Egypt becomes a province of Rome. The temples fall silent. The scholars of Alexandria flee. Yet the people whisper of their queen, that she ascended to the heavens to rule beside Isis. In the shadows of the pyramids, her name is spoken as a prayer, not a memory. Centuries pass, but Cleopatra's name endures. Artists paint her, poets praise her, philosophers debate her. To some, she is a temptress, to others, a patriot, a goddess, a symbol of eternal will. The truth, like the Nile, flows beyond the grasp of time. Every generation looks upon her story and sees what they most desire: love, power, freedom. Beneath the desert stars, the wind whispers across the ruins of Alexandria. Somewhere beneath the sands, the tomb of Cleopatra sleeps, her spirit entwined with the Nile's eternal rhythm.
Empires rise and crumble, but her legend remains untouched, a flame that neither Rome nor time could extinguish. Cleopatra, last pharaoh of Egypt, forever queen of hearts and history. Octavian sails back to Rome with the treasures of Egypt. Behind him trail golden statues, jewels, and chained captives. Yet the greatest treasure, Cleopatra's spirit, eludes him. In the streets of Alexandria, mourning songs rise from fishermen and nobles alike. The Nile flows heavy, as if carrying sorrow itself to the sea. In Rome, Octavian parades his victory through marble streets. Banners of Egypt flutter beneath Roman eagles. Crowds roar, but whispers move through them. Where is the queen? They expected to see Cleopatra in chains, but she escaped their gaze, defying humiliation even in death. Octavian wears his laurel crown, yet knows her shadow walks beside him. Back in Alexandria, Cleopatra's son, Caesarion, is captured. Advisors beg Octavian to spare the boy, but Rome fears the heir of both Caesar and Cleopatra. Two Caesars cannot live, Octavian declares coldly. When the deed is done, the line of Ptolemies ends forever, and with it, the last blood of Alexander and the pharaohs. Cleopatra's twins, Alexander Helios and Cleopatra Selene, are taken to Rome, raised under Octavia's care, the sister of Antony. Though far from Egypt, they carry their mother's grace. In quiet moments, Selene dreams of golden temples and warm desert winds. The blood of queens and conquerors still stirs within her heart. Under Roman rule, Alexandria changes. The temples of Isis remain, but their chants now mingle with Latin hymns. Traders from across the empire fill the markets. Cleopatra's name is banned in official speech, yet spoken more than ever in whispers, songs, and secret prayers. The forbidden queen becomes a goddess once again. In the libraries of the East, scribes preserve Cleopatra's story. They write of her wit, her knowledge of medicine, mathematics, and astronomy. A queen of reason as much as beauty, one papyrus reads. Her intellect, once feared, now inspires scholars for centuries to come. The woman who died for love becomes the symbol of wisdom itself. In Thebes, a priestess lights a torch beneath a statue of Isis bearing Cleopatra's features. "Our queen lives," she whispers. Pilgrims bring offerings, gold bracelets, lotus garlands, whispers of devotion. Though Rome holds the land, Egypt's spirit bows to no empire. Cleopatra is no longer just mortal, she is divine remembrance. Generations pass. The sands bury Alexandria's palaces, but her legend refuses to fade. Poets sing of her beauty, philosophers debate her cunning. To lovers, she is devotion, to rulers, ambition, to historians, mystery. Cleopatra becomes a mirror, reflecting the dreams and fears of every age that dares to remember her. Centuries later, explorers search for her tomb. They find statues, coins, fragments of her words carved in gold. Yet her resting place remains hidden, as if the Nile itself protects her secret. Scholars argue, adventurers dig, the queen remains silent. Her mystery is her victory. She rules still through absence. From papyrus to poetry, from marble to film,
Cleopatra's story endures. She is reborn in every age, a queen of hearts, intellect, and indomitable will. Empires rise and vanish, but her gaze, carved in gold and memory, watches still. The Nile flows on, whispering her name to the stars, Cleopatra, the eternal queen.
Centuries after Rome's fall, Egypt lies under the dominion of Byzantines and Arabs. The temples fade, but Cleopatra's story lives in secret scrolls and whispered songs. Merchants along the Nile still tell of a queen who defied the world and loved as fiercely as she ruled. The sands conceal her tomb, yet not her soul. In the libraries of Baghdad, scholars transcribe the tales of Alexandria. Among manuscripts of science and stars, Cleopatra's name appears, Cleopatra al-Hakima, Cleopatra the Wise. They record her as a philosopher and alchemist who sought the elixir of life. Her myth shifts from queen to sage, from ruler to mystic. During the Crusades, European knights hear tales of a queen whose beauty conquered hearts and whose wisdom defied empires. In their songs, Cleopatra becomes a symbol of forbidden love, half truth, half enchantment. To them, she is both temptress and tragic saint, lost to time, yet forever desired. As Europe rediscovers the ancient world, artists in Florence and Venice revive Cleopatra's image. Marble statues and oil portraits capture her poised with the asp, draped in silks and jewels. She becomes the muse of painters and poets alike, a symbol of intellect, seduction, and the fragile majesty of mortality. By the Elizabethan era, playwrights immortalize her anew. In Shakespeare's hand, Cleopatra lives again, fierce, witty, and passionate beyond measure. Age cannot wither her, he writes, nor custom stale her infinite variety. Upon the wooden stage, she breathes, loves, and dies each night, conquering audiences as she once conquered kings. In the salons of Paris and the universities of London, thinkers debate Cleopatra's legacy. Was she a victim of empire or a master of it? Writers pen treatises about her diplomacy, her intellect, her political genius. The queen once called sorceress now becomes philosopher, a woman centuries ahead of her time. As Napoleon's army marches into Egypt, European explorers uncover obelisks, mummies, and long-buried tombs. Artists sketch Cleopatra's imagined face, while archaeologists dream of finding her resting place. Her legend ignites the Western imagination. Egyptomania sweeps through the courts of Europe, blending history and fantasy into eternal allure. With the dawn of cinema, Cleopatra shines brighter than ever. From silent films to grand Hollywood epics, she returns, a goddess of motion and emotion. Lavish sets, golden crowns, and tragic passion paint her tale anew. Millions gaze upon her story, unaware that each flicker of light revives her soul once more. In the modern age, Cleopatra becomes more than legend. She becomes symbol. Artists, writers, and scholars see in her the eternal struggle of women who lead in a world of men. Her story inspires queens, scientists, activists, and dreamers. Cleopatra's crown now rests not on her head alone, but on every woman who dares to command her destiny. The centuries whisper her name still, Cleopatra, last pharaoh, eternal woman of wonder. Her life was empire and art, intellect and passion, tragedy and triumph. Though the sands of Egypt have buried her body, her legend rises with every dawn over the Nile. She did not vanish into death, she transformed into eternity. In the 20th century, under the burning Egyptian sun, archaeologists dig tirelessly. They seek the tomb of Cleopatra, hoping to unveil the last secret of the Nile. Each grain of sand feels alive with her presence. Each hieroglyph glimmers as if whispering her name. Though the tomb eludes them, their hearts burn with her story. Modern Egyptian poets walk the streets of Alexandria, feeling the ghost of their queen in every sea breeze. They write verses of her courage, her brilliance, her defiance. In cafes near the harbor, they raise their cups to her, the eternal symbol of Egypt's soul, the woman who dared to outshine empires. In universities and museums around the world, Cleopatra becomes the subject of new debates. Was she a manipulator or a visionary? A lover or a leader? Historians clash, but her mystery deepens. Each version of Cleopatra reveals more about those who study her than about the queen herself. She becomes the mirror of humanity's longing for greatness. Painters and sculptors of the modern age reimagine Cleopatra in new forms: abstract, surreal, cosmic. Her eyes become constellations. Her crown becomes the universe itself. Through color and symbol, artists capture what words cannot: that Cleopatra was not only a woman, but an eternal idea of creation, beauty, and rebellion. As the world moves into the digital age, Cleopatra returns once more, not in marble or papyrus, but in pixels and holograms. Virtual museums recreate her palaces. AI voices echo her words. Children across the world meet the queen through screens, discovering her courage anew. Even in light and code, her spirit reigns supreme. Across continents, women speak her name as a symbol of self-mastery and pride. From Cairo to New York, from Nairobi to Paris, Cleopatra represents the strength to rise, to rule, to love without fear. Her story becomes a movement, not of monarchy, but of freedom. She ceases to be a legend of the past and becomes a call to the future. A team of modern Egyptian archaeologists returns to Taposiris Magna, where rumors say Cleopatra's tomb lies hidden. They uncover coins bearing her image, chambers carved with serpents, and offerings to Isis. As they light their torches, the air seems to shimmer, as though the queen herself watches from the veil between worlds. In philosophy and art, Cleopatra becomes a symbol of the eternal feminine, the power to create, to destroy, to inspire. Poets compare her to dawn and dusk, love and death. She embodies the duality of existence itself, the union of intellect and emotion, reason and passion. In her, humanity recognizes its most powerful paradox. Under a starlit Egyptian sky, the Nile flows silently as it has for millennia. The breeze carries faint echoes, laughter, whispers, the rustle of silk. Locals say that on quiet nights one can see a golden figure walking along the riverbank. The Queen of the Nile returns not as ruler, but as guardian of her homeland's soul. In every heart that dreams of love, greatness, or destiny, Cleopatra lives. Her face adorns paintings, her voice echoes in songs, her wisdom breathes through history's pages. The woman who ruled with mind and heart became more than queen. She became time itself, unending and unforgettable. Deep beneath Egypt's sands, in chambers lost to time, the mummified kings rest in silence. But one tomb remains unfound, the resting place of Cleopatra. Scholars imagine her lying beside the Nile she loved, wrapped not in linen but in moonlight, guarded by statues of cats and cobras. Her peace remains undisturbed, her immortality assured. Astronomers in Cairo observe the night sky, mapping constellations once charted by Egyptian priests. As they trace the same stars Cleopatra studied centuries ago, they feel a connection across time, queen and scientist united by wonder. Her mind, always reaching for the heavens, now resides among them. Around the world, dreamers see her in visions, standing on marble steps, draped in gold, eyes luminous with knowledge and sorrow. She speaks not of empires, but of courage, love, and the pursuit of one's own destiny. In the realm of sleep, Cleopatra still reigns, the queen of the subconscious, whispering to those who seek greatness. In a grand museum hall, visitors pause before an ancient bust. The placard reads, Cleopatra VII, Philopator, Queen of Egypt. Children stare at her marbled gaze, feeling a strange spark, a mixture of awe and familiarity. For in her eyes they see their own dreams reflected, as if she watches not from the past, but from eternity itself. In the ruins of ancient Alexandria, couples sit along the harbor, watching the sunset turn the sea to gold. They speak of Cleopatra and Antony, of love that defied armies and empires. Their story reminds all who hear it that passion, though it may end in tragedy, is what makes life divine. Psychologists and philosophers study Cleopatra not only as a historical figure, but as an archetype, the embodiment of intellect fused with emotion. To them, she is the eternal symbol of self-mastery, of the human will to balance power with love, reason with heart. In understanding her, they glimpse the soul of humanity itself. Modern Egyptian women walk through Cairo's bustling streets, proud, educated, independent. In their confidence, the world sees Cleopatra's spirit reborn. She lives in every scientist, artist, and leader who rises with grace and intelligence. Every daughter of the Nile who inherits her fire. In art, philosophy, and faith, Cleopatra comes to represent balance between chaos and order, passion and wisdom, love and loss. Her story teaches that to live greatly is to accept both triumph and tragedy. She is the reminder that perfection is not immortality, but the courage to live fully before the end. One day, as archaeologists explore near the ancient temple of Isis, they uncover a sealed chamber. Inside lies a carved mural, Cleopatra and Antony in eternal embrace. Though her body is still missing, her story closes in poetic symmetry. The queen has returned, not in flesh, but in spirit, united with eternity. From the Nile's birth to the edge of time, Cleopatra's light
continues to shine. She is history's eternal flame, queen, scholar, lover, goddess, and woman. Her laughter echoes through the ages, her wisdom guides the lost, her courage inspires the brave. As long as humanity remembers beauty and intellect entwined, Cleopatra will never die. Millennia pass, and the world transforms. Cities of glass rise where deserts once stretched. Yet Cleopatra's name is still spoken in art, in music, in dreams. Every culture finds her anew, reshaping her face to mirror their ideals. She becomes not just Egyptian, but universal, a soul belonging to all who seek greatness and love. A young woman gazes into her mirror and sees Cleopatra's reflection beside her, not as ghost, but as inspiration, whispering, "Rule your own life as I ruled mine." The queen no longer sits on thrones of gold, but within the hearts of those who believe in their own power. Her kingdom now is self-mastery. At an academic symposium, historians gathered to discuss Cleopatra once more. One young researcher stands and says softly, "We keep studying her not to know her past, but to understand our future." The room falls silent. They realize her story is not finished. It continues wherever knowledge meets courage. Artists paint her eyes into murals. Musicians compose her in melodies, and poets write her into the very rhythm of language. Her image becomes not merely beauty, but understanding, transformation, rebirth. Cleopatra transcends gender, culture, and time. She becomes the essence of what it means to live with purpose. As night falls over Egypt, the Nile glows under the full moon. The wind carries voices, those of pharaohs, priests, and poets, but above them all is hers. Cleopatra whispers to the river, her eternal companion, "Carry my story to every shore." And the Nile obeys, flowing endlessly, shimmering like a ribbon of memory. In the imagination of mystics and astronomers, Cleopatra becomes a cosmic symbol, a constellation of love and intellect. Stars trace her crown, planets mark her footsteps. The universe itself honors her story, making her one of its eternal lights, a reminder that greatness, once born, can never fade into darkness. Somewhere beyond life and death, Cleopatra and Antony meet again, two souls bound by destiny. No war, no empire, no sorrow divides them now. They walk along the Nile of eternity, hand in hand, their love now pure and endless, watched by the gods who once envied them. At dawn, over the ancient ruins of her palace, the first sunbeam strikes a column etched with her name. Birds rise into the air, singing over the silent stones. The world awakens to another day, but her presence lingers in the glow. She is the sunrise itself, reborn each morning, radiant and eternal. In every act of courage, in every pursuit of knowledge, in every heart that dares to love deeply, Cleopatra lives. She has become the pulse of human ambition and tenderness alike, the perfect union of strength and feeling. Her crown rests now not on her head, but on the soul of humanity. The story ends where it began, with the Nile. Its waters shimmer beneath the eternal sun, carrying the whispers of an immortal queen. Time cannot bury her, for she has become
time itself. Cleopatra VII, daughter of Isis, lover of Caesar, ruler of Egypt, now lives beyond life. Her heart beats in the rhythm of the stars, and her name forever echoes in eternity.